What's going on, guys, and welcome back to F1 2021 My Team Career Mode for Season 3, Round number 7, the Canadian Grand Prix. I'm excited for this one because last time out we unfortunately didn't finish this race in Season 2. We had a mechanical failure and retired from the race, really unfortunately. We were actually, I think, in 3rd place at the time, looking at a podium position and possibly even a race win, so my pace is usually pretty good at this track, so I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do here. As we look at the R&D once again, everybody's at the top 5 are still right on top of each other there. We've made a little bit of an improvement with, I believe, a chassis upgrade that we put on last time out or the time before, so yeah, should still be very close at the top. As we go into Q1, like I said, it's one of my favourite tracks on the game. It's a very short lap, just over a minute long really, but it is a really fun flowing track. It's a very quick track, and you know, you have to be careful at times, especially coming up this section here through the Wall of Champions chicane. You have to be very careful, and on this particular lap I was actually really like 3.5 tenths up there, but then lost quite a lot of time through the Wall of Champions chicane because Bottas in front of me just slowed me down a lot. He gave me a good run, a good slipstream up the straight, but yeah, unfortunately cost me like 2.5 tenths in that last part. But we do get through to Q2 pretty easily, P10 for us. But I knew there was a lot more time to be had here, so I decided that I'm going to do something that I don't think I've even tried doing yet in this whole career mode, at least not this season, and that is to get through to Q3 on a set of medium tyres. Yeah, because I thought, you know, I reckon my pace here is pretty good, so usually my pace in qualifying is quite a bit off what it should be, but so going through on a set of mediums is never usually really an option. But this time I thought I'd give it a go because I just felt like my pace was good, and it just about worked out. We ended up P10, and a lot of other people actually decided to abandon because the whole top 10 were originally on medium tyres, but it's only myself, Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen who ended up getting through on the mediums. Everybody else switched to the softs because they were a bit worried at the end of not making it through, so potentially good stuff for me, Perez and Verstappen in the race as we get through on the medium tyres, so that's very good for me. And then Q3 would also be a fun little adventure, of course, on the soft tyres here because it doesn't matter. It's Q2, whatever tyres you complete your laps on in Q2 are the tyres that you start the race on. And in Q3, first sector here on our flying lap, we go purple in the first sector. I am very quick through the first sector here. I think it is the second sector that I potentially don't get as well. I don't seem to get that corner there quite as well as I would like compared to the AI. That's probably my weakest part of the track. We go green through the second sector there. We're currently P10. I think we have set a time, but yeah, this would be my second flying lap in Q3. And yeah, so we are P10 at the moment, but I'm looking, I don't know, I have a feeling here, most other tracks, P9, P10 seems to be about where I come in qualifying, but I'm hoping for a better result here as we come through the Wall of Champions. A lot of speed, go over the curves, but keep it on within track limits, and over the line we're P2 after that run, but we end up P4, but it's the best qualifying result for us so far. We actually get the exact same time to the millisecond of Charles Leclerc in P3, but he gets the position over us because he did the lap first. Daniel Ricciardo on pole position and Lewis Hamilton on the front row. It's been a little while since he's been there, so see how this goes.
We're back once again beside the St. Lawrence River here in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. The event first moved to a variant of this track back in 1978. It was won by none other than Gilles Villeneuve, the first Canadian to ever win his home race, and in whose honour the circuit would be renamed. If you want flat-out racing, you've come to the right place this weekend, as it's full throttle for 59% of this 2.7-mile circuit, peaking at around 210 miles per hour going into the final chicane. But that speed requires discipline, and there are more than a few close walls here just waiting to punish drivers with a heavy right foot. Anthony Davidson, a very warm welcome to you as you join me in the commentary box for today's event. Why don't we discuss McLaren? What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Daniel Ricciardo starts from pole position today, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Shaw, Sergio Perez, and Giovinazzi. Norris, Verstappen, Sainz, and Guan Yu Zhou. Gasly, Ocon, Christian LUNDGAARD, and Bottas. Fernando ALONSO, Tsunoda, Sebastian VETTEL, and George Russell. Mick SCHUMACHER, Latifi, Mazepin, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Alrighty, so this should be an interesting Canadian Grand Prix for us, starting P4, the highest position we've started this whole season by quite a long way, and it's lights out and away we go. We're not going to get as good of a start on the medium tyres, however it's still not a bad start. Sergio Perez behind us, also on the medium tyres, gets an amazing start and is already up alongside Charles Leclerc, fighting for P3 as Ricciardo and Hamilton are 2x2 up ahead as well. We kind of back off from the group ahead, but just try and defend from Lando Norris behind. These guys a little bit slow up ahead. I think Ricciardo and Hamilton had a little bit of a tussle there. It looks like Ricciardo's just about managed to keep in the lead as we have to take a little bit of avoiding action from Perez, and that lets Lando Norris have a little sniff up behind us, but he's coming under fire from Antonio Giovinazzi in the other Red Bull car as they go too wide into the next chicane there, so that gives us a little bit of breathing space, and now we've got a bit of a gap formed in front and behind us, so we can just run in a little bit of clean air. But then coming into the hairpin here, very close to Sergio Perez right there, just everybody's so close to each other. There's yellow flags behind. I think that was more just because there's a lot of cars going into a small space there on this first lap as we head down the back straight, front straight, I don't really know, it's kind of all the front straight, but then you've got the chicane in between here as we're just kind of tucked up behind Sergio Perez here. We're in a decent enough position. Daniel Ricciardo still leads the way at the moment. As on lap 2, Christian LUNDGAARD has been disqualified from the session. What the hell has happened here? A disqualification in this race for Christian LUNDGAARD. That is something you do not see that often. We'll have a little look at a replay here. Looks like he has a bit of an engine failure there. A bit of smoke puffs out of his car. Then he spins off his teammate Esteban Ocon and just sits there, but then is still moving. So I feel like he should have DNF'd from a mechanical failure, but he's not, and then that caused him to get disqualified. Not sure what's going on there. As you can see, he's still sat in the middle of the track right there as we come through. We have to take a little bit of avoiding action, and that leaves the door open for Lando Norris, who gets a better run, and he's going to have a look up the inside into the chicane, but can't quite do anything this time around. We managed to keep the position, but then we get a bit too caught up over the curb, and this time it is going to let Norris come through. He's going to try and go round the outside of the hairpin. We're going to try and squeeze him out here, squeeze him into the wall. We actually hit him into the wall there, but I didn't actually make contact with him, and I'm not sure if I was being a little bit too aggressive there. We'll have a look at an onboard from Norris. As you can see, get a little bit caught up over the curb, and that just lets Norris get the better run and go for a move around the outside of the hairpin. And as you can see here, he's alongside me, but by this point here, he's not even really alongside my rear tyre, and I kind of squeeze him into the wall. So I think that was fair enough, to be honest. He goes into the pits to change his front wing, but I don't really think that was my fault because he wasn't alongside me. His front wheel was not quite in line with my back wheel, so I don't really think I was inclined to give him the room there. So I'm going to stand by my decision and say that was a decent enough racing incident there. As we continue on at the front of the grid here, the top four all very close. Of course, Ricciardo, Hamilton and Leclerc. The top three there are all on the soft tyres. Sergio Perez on the mediums in fourth, and he's managing to keep with these guys. And by this point here, lap number 7, the soft tyres are starting to lose grip. As you can see, these guys falling into the clutches of Perez, and I'm actually going to just about to start catching these guys as well. After losing out to them a little bit in the first few laps, I will start catching them, and it's not going to be too long before these soft tyre runners will be coming into the pits. But as you can see here, onto lap number 8, I am catching up to Perez and the rest of the field up in front. So it's still, after a bit of a slower start for me, losing a position to Perez at the start, we're still in with a shot here of a very good result. So I'm really just putting my head down, trying to go as quick as I can but be as safe as I can, and we are now in the DRS range of Sergio Perez. That's going to help us a lot on this track. DRS and slipstream is such a big thing, as on the end of lap number 8, the top 3 come into the pits for their first pit stop, probably onto a set of medium tyres here. And we continue on. Sergio Perez takes the lead of the race. We are now into P2, and it's Verstappen in P3, who is the other medium tyre runner from the start. So us three on the medium tyre strategy. We have a little look at Perez into turn 1 on lap 11, but we're a little bit too far back. We're just going to play this a bit safer, as on the end of lap 11 here, we're getting a good run down the straights here, but this time around we can't quite do anything here. But there is another DRS zone going on through to turn 1, and we're going to hook it up behind Sergio Perez, and we're going to have a little look, and we're going to have a dive into turn 1. We're alongside, he gives us the room, we give him the room, we end up going around the next corner side by side, and it's very, very close between us, but we're being very respectful of each other as we come around here, and we're going to just about get into turn, I don't know, like 3 or 4, I don't really know what you call that corner, and we have taken the lead of the Grand Prix, but it is only the lead on track at the moment, as Ricciardo, Leclerc, and who's the other one? Hamilton will probably retake the lead when we come in for our pit stops, which will be fairly soon. But Perez isn't giving up too easily. He's still right there behind me, but can't quite do anything at the moment. As a bit further down the order, we've actually got Charles Leclerc, who has a bit of an issue. His teammate Carlos Sainz is going for a move on him here. Leclerc actually came over on my radio saying that he's got a little bit of an issue, so he's got some kind of engine problem, I'm imagining here. Sainz doesn't manage to get to him at that point, and now he's under fire from Antonio Giovinazzi, who's now trying to go round the outside of turn 2 here, I guess you call it. And he looks like he might be able to do it here, but they're still side by side going through this next section. It's some great racing between the Spanish and Italian driver here in the Red Bull and the Ferrari, as it's actually Lando Norris now behind, catching up to these guys. Leclerc managing to get a bit of a breath of fresh air. I mean, the amount of room he's just made up because of his battling, and now Norris right on the back of Sainz. He's actually gone for a move on this next chicane, and they are now side by side. They bang tyres a little bit there, but it's still fair racing as Sainz and Norris, former teammates at McLaren back in 2020 and 2019, go side by side. It's a great battle between these two, and it is still side by side going through here. Now it's going to be a drag race to the final chicane, but I think Norris has the DRS, and he is going to just about get in front of Carlos Sainz. So Sainz goes from overtaking Leclerc to then not getting past him, losing 2 other positions to Giovinazzi and Norris. So not looking good for Sainz once again here this season. As we come in for our first pit stop on lap number 14, we're going to go into a set of soft tyres on the middle stint. Now, the original strategy was mediums to softs right at the end, but my team suggested going to softs in the middle stint. And I decided to take that on because the softs don't last a whole lot of time, like 7 or so laps is all they last. So maybe 8 or 9 when, you know, they're brand new softs that haven't been used, unlike the guys at the front who had already used their tyres in qualifying. As now we have Giovinazzi again, I think this is, going for a move now on Charles Leclerc. Leclerc really having issues here. His engine is giving him some, I imagine it's his engine, he's having some kind of mechanical problem. Not retired from the race just yet, but yeah, is definitely having some issues here, as we have now caught up to the back of Lewis Hamilton because we are on the soft tyres and we've got some fresh air and we're showing some pretty good pace here. Sergio Perez behind me has the fastest lap at the moment as Hamilton goes defensive into the wall of champions. We're just going to kind of back off a little bit and let him just, you know, let him get in front of us because we're now going to have the DRS and we're going to make a move into turn 1 once again here. It's a beautiful move. I love this move into turn 1 through to turn 2. It's lap number 17. We're alongside Lewis Hamilton, but he is more alongside us than Perez was on the previous few laps. We brake very late into this next corner, take a very wide line and manage to get the move done. That was a great move, a really fun move to make there, and we've made it stick. As a few laps later, or 1 lap later really here, Hamilton is now under fire from Sergio Perez, I think this is, or is it Giovinazzi? I think it might be Perez. I think this is Perez. Yes, it's Perez and Verstappen, both on the softer compound tyres right here, I believe, as they go 3 wide, and then Perez gets squeezed off and he's into the, well, just kind of off into the gravel sort of trap there in turn 1, and I think he might have a little bit of damage. We look at an onboard here. Perez Perez goes for a move on the outside of Hamilton into turn 1, but Hamilton gets dive bombed by Verstappen and just tags Perez, and Perez gets put off into the gravel. As we just look at a great move from Verstappen here, he goes to the inside of Hamilton and just breaks late and gets a beautiful lunge up the inside of Hamilton into turn 1, is side by side with him through turn 2, but manages to get the power down earlier on those soft tyres to get the position from the British driver. As we continue on here, Lando Norris now attacking Charles Leclerc, and Carlos Sainz is caught back up to his teammate once again here as well. Leclerc really struggling. The current championship leader is not having a particularly good race here. Started in P3, is a fair way down the order, still in the points, but is a bit of a way down the order now as Norris comes into the pits, and now Sainz is behind his teammate. But can he do actually no, Sainz has got past his teammate there, so now Sainz is the lead Ferrari, with Leclerc having issues. As now lap number 22 of 35, we are catching up to our race leader and our teammate Daniel Ricciardo. He's leading the race here. He's on the medium tyres at the moment. He's still got another pit stop, probably onto another set of mediums, and we will be on mediums for our final stint as well. So it's going to be interesting here, because we are of course catching him right now, but it's going to be a pretty fair fight to the end as we come across some back markers here. Nikita Mazepin, I think that was, as Ricciardo came in on the previous lap. So we are now the race leader, but we're going to come in on the next lap round for our final pit stop onto our last set of medium tyres, a brand new set of medium tyres, and we will take these to the end of the race. Daniel Ricciardo goes past there. He's probably going to be ahead of us into turn 1 here, but we are right here, and it's a fair fight between us two to the finish line now. Max Verstappen is in P3, but he's a little bit of a way back. He's about 2.5-3 seconds back, but it looks like it's going to be, unless something happens here, a fight for the win between myself and my teammate Daniel Ricciardo, and this is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for a good battle with Ricciardo this whole season. We had a little bit of a battle with him in Bahrain, but he fell off the pace a little bit towards the end. We haven't really had a battle with him since, because he's just been fairly consistently quite a bit quicker than us this season, but this time around we're going to have possibly the edge here, as we're looking at a move into the chicane, but we can't quite do anything at this moment in time. Once again, hang up behind him through the second or third, or however the next DRS zone. We have a little look going into turn 1, but nah, we're too far back. We've got still 9-10 laps of this race to go, so we just have got to be patient. We don't want to do anything too crazy on our teammate here though, but we are definitely desperate for the win. We haven't won a race this season yet. Ricciardo has won a single race back in Monaco, so we're looking for a bit of revenge here to beat our teammate as we go for the move up the inside into the final chicane, and we get it done. We've got Lance Stroll ahead of us under blue flags. We still get DRS from him, so that is very good there to keep the fight with Ricciardo as we are still ahead. Ricciardo does manage to get past Stroll at the same time though, so he's still going to be right behind us, and it's not going to be an easy battle to the end here. Lap number 27, and this is Sergio Perez, I believe. No, it might be Antonio Giovinazzi. No, it is Sergio Perez in the lead Red Bull, going for a move on Lando Norris, I reckon that is there, and he gets the position done. Both these guys actually managed to do a decent job here. I mean, after both of them I think came in for front wing changes, definitely Norris anyway. Pretty sure Perez did have to as well. They're now running 5th and 6th. They're doing a pretty decent job as we overtake, I think that was no, that was Nicholas Latifi in the Alfa Romeo as a back marker there, lap number 30, and we now have George Russell up ahead of us. It's a little bit annoying here. We're having to get past all these back marker cars with Ricciardo still right behind us, and Russell actually makes it a little bit awkward for us into turn 1 through turn 2 here when we're trying to get past him, and Ricciardo actually has a sneaky little look up the inside but can't quite do anything. We both just about managed to get past George Russell, the back marker car, but yeah, Russell is... well, Ricciardo is still putting pressure on us, but a few laps later and onto the final lap of the race, we managed to just about pull out a gap to him, and we've got about a 1.5 2 second gap to Ricciardo here. We come down the back straight for the final time. Sebastian Vettel's in front of us. He's under blue flags, but we're not going to overtake him before we finish, but we're going to come through the wall of champions chicane. We're going to come to win the Canadian Grand Prix in season 3. We retired here with a mechanical failure last season. We've shown great pace here this season, and we've come through for our first race of the season. It boosts us back into the title fight. We were looking a little bit poor the last couple of races, but we're back in it now, and we're going to take this one to the end. It's going to be a good season.
That's it then for another magnificent Canadian Grand Prix, and they've hung on to take a sublime victory here today. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
A show-stopping performance from the 3 drivers approaching the podium right now. It's been an interesting Grand Prix, that's for sure.
Well, there we have it. We have won the Canadian Grand Prix. It's 4 victories for us in this career mode so far, but our first of this season, and it is also a 1-2 finish for TGL Motorsport, with Daniel Ricciardo coming home in P2. It was a great little fight with him towards the end there. I've been waiting for a battle like that for this whole season so far, and we finally got it. Max Verstappen comes home for P3, from P8 to P3. That just shows there that I reckon our strategy was a pretty good one. Lewis Hamilton in P4, not a bad result for him considering where he's been previously, with Perez P5 and Lando Norris P6, so good result from them considering they had front wing changes. Really interesting with the whole disqualification from Christian Lundgaard. I really don't know what that was all about, but that was very interesting indeed. And like I said before, this puts us back into the fight. I mean, we were still there anyway, but we are now back up into P3. We're only 6 points behind Daniel Ricciardo, and he is only 17 points now behind Charles Leclerc, as I'm pretty sure Leclerc finished in P9 that race, so not a good race for the championship leader, as Verstappen and Norris moved down a couple of spaces because of me jumping from 5th to 3rd. And in the Constructors' Championship, nothing changes here, but we now have a decent enough lead in the Constructors' Championship, with McLaren in 2nd, Ferrari 3rd. It's all very close there, with Red Bull 4th, Mercedes in 5th, Alpine 6th, AlphaTauri in 7th, and then Williams, Aston Martin, Alfa Romeo, and Haas at the back. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.